Hey guys, we're back. This is going to be a special show tonight. We promised you part two of Standoff. Tonight is going to be a little different. Tonight we're not talking to one of the assaulters of it, but we're actually talking to the negotiator. We're going to go over his life, his career as a negotiator, and what not only went through his mind that night, what he had to say, but the effects of this event after him, because he believes on a fundamental level that this event has changed his life in different ways. So we're going to get right into it. Like we said, Standoff is a book by Jamie Thompson. It tells about the night, July 7th, 2016, where 5 Dallas officers were killed. And it's a fantastic book. So we want to bring Larry on to give a different perspective of that show. So into the show in 3, 2, 1, and we're live.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
How about no, you crazy Dutch bastard? What we've got here is failure to communicate.
60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
That's cute. I remember when I had my first beer.
Why so serious?
I am serious. And don't call me sir.
What's up, everybody? It's a special show tonight. It's a Wednesday, not a Friday, but it's still DTD, the dads that drink. And we promised you a second episode of this show, Standoff, that night in Dallas. Tonight we have the negotiator, Larry Gordon. And he has a almost fabled career on the Dallas Police Department. He started his career with the Dallas Police Department in 1995. In June of 1997, Larry was selected to be part of the Dallas Police Department's Specialized Crime Unit. After several productive years with the Specialized Crime Unit, Larry transferred to narcotics. His duties included, but were not limited to, executing dynamic entry search warrants, conducting undercover drug buys, and training new detectives that joined the unit. In 2004, Larry transferred to the Dallas Police Department's coveted SWAT team. Larry's duties on the SWAT team consisted of crisis, hostage negotiation, executing high-risk search warrants, providing motorcades for current and former presidents of the United States, and distinguished dignitaries afforded a motorcade. He also acts as a counter-assault team for those dignitaries and current and former presidents. Larry served as one of the lead negotiators for the SWAT team for several years. He successfully negotiated peaceful resolution to armed barricaded suspects. Larry also negotiated operations where a sniper tactical resolution had to be used to bring the volatile situation to an end. On July 7, 2016, Larry faced his most challenging negotiation as he spent hours negotiating with an individual who killed 5 police officers. For this, Larry received the Medal of Valor for his actions that night. After 13 years in SWAT, Larry transferred to the Criminal Intelligence Unit, where he was assigned for 2 years until his promotion to sergeant. Now, Larry's currently assigned as the training sergeant in narcotics and vice. He's also responsible for training SWAT officers and certifying them in tear gas, lethal munitions, and distraction devices. He's also an active shooter, advanced law enforcement rapid response training instructor, a firearms instructor, and a munitions instructor. Please help me in welcoming Larry Gordon. Hello, Larry.
Woo!
Hey, how you doing?
That's impressive.
It's very, very impressive.
That's freaking badass, man. That's kudos. That's freaking badass.
So, Larry, the reason we're here tonight, this situation, after all these years and all this that you've done on the police department and everything that you've seen, this situation changed you fundamentally. So how we want to go tonight on this interview is we want to start at the beginning of your career, move through it, things that you thought as you worked in SWAT, as you started doing crisis negotiation, all that kind of stuff. And as we get to that night, we want to switch modes and go into the physical and psychological aspect of it. So Let's start off with your career. What made you decide that you wanted to be a police officer?
Um, Quite honestly, I didn't really decide that I wanted to be a police officer. I mean, really, it chose me.
Okay.
Um, I wanted to. I dodged it for a while, and it was weird, but for probably ever since I was about 10 years old, when I would watch TV and see police officers die in the line of duty, it really affected me. I have no idea why. I was young. I didn't know why. And I remember I was about 10 or 11 maybe. And I'm from Terrell, just east of here. And it was a Terrell police officer got killed in our apartment complex. And I remember that. I remember where he got killed, who shot him, where he was, where the suspect was located. I remember I was 10 years old and I remember everything about it.
Hmm.
So, um, and that had a real profound effect on me growing up because I couldn't walk past the area where he got killed. Whenever I would go that way, I would have to walk all the way around because I couldn't walk past that area. And the apartments I grew up in was pretty much drug infested. So I would sit and and we knew the jump out boys. They weren't called jump out boys at the time, but we knew who they were. When they came around the corner, we knew the vans. And all the kids would run and I would just watch. I probably should have ran to get out of the way in case shots were fired, but I remember I would just watch them and I would just wonder where they were going. And even if they passed me, I would kind of follow them a little bit. And it was always just a sight to see them jump out of the van in all black, maybe have a hood on, or the vests and helmets and, little whatever they carried at the time. Jump out of the MP5s, whatever they had, the machine guns, and jump out of the van. And I would just watch them. And I would just thought, man, I'm going to do that one day. I'm going to do that one day. So when I got out of college, I was like, of course, I majored in criminal justice, of course, but I was always afraid to be a police officer because I didn't want to shoot anybody. I didn't want to get shot. But for years, and this is going to sound weird, but for years I had a reoccurring dream, and the reoccurring dream was I would be chasing this guy. I don't know what I was chasing it for. I was a police officer. I would chase this guy, and he would turn around and shoot me, and I would wake up. I had that reoccurring dream for years until I joined the police department. It went away.
Really?
Yeah, it went away. I never had it again.
So it's almost like maybe a direct calling in a way through dreams or God or whatever you want to believe in. That's pretty interesting. That's a very neat story. Yeah.
And the thing about it is where you grew up, and it describes it a little bit in the book. A lot of people that grew up around you weren't really fans of the police.
Right.
And even family members of yours weren't giant fans of the police. So what is it that you think was different about you or your thinking? Because I mean, technically you're all being brought up by the same people, the same community, all that kind of stuff. So what was it about them or about policing that seemed different to you than the normal guy on the street or the average person?
That's a good question. I think more or so I was a leader. I was a leader. I didn't want to follow anybody.
Okay.
I'm the youngest of 4 kids, and my 2 older brothers, my 2 role models, have multiple stints in prison, multiple, at least 4 apiece. Get out, go back, get out, go back. And I think I can only really guess. I can just guess that my brother, my middle brother next to me, he's 2 years older than me. I remember when he was 13 years old. This stands out in my mind. He was 13 years old, and he committed a burglary at the time. It was a burglary of the apartment complex where we lived. He burglarized the office, and it was stupid to burglarize the office because they don't keep any cash. They keep money orders. They ain't like you can cash them, but he burglarized the office. So he's 13. I'm 11, 10 or 11, somewhere around there. And of course, some witnesses said, "Hey, I know who did it. It was Daryl Gordon. He lives right over there." And Terrell PD comes to our house. My brother's 13. Put him in custody, took him to jail. And I remember this distinctly. I remember my mother coming back from visiting him at this juvenile detention center or wherever it was. It was somewhere near Kaufman or somewhere. I'm not sure where it was because I didn't go. But I remember when she came back, my mother was in tears. I mean, she was inconsolable because she was saying that he was housed in like an animal outside, like an animal pen is what she called it. And I'm thinking in my 10-year-old brain what it looks like. And she said they're treating him like an animal. He's in this almost like a cage that you would, way she described it, like if you would walk past a cage of some animals and they just had them outside, almost like a kennel or something, the way she described it. And it had a profound effect on me. And I was like, nah, ain't doing that. I'm not doing that. Most of my friends sold crack, sold drugs. And I was like, I'd be with them, which was stupid in itself. But I'll be like, nah, bro, I ain't gonna do that. You can have that. I'm not gonna do that. So I guess that was one of the, catalysts that stopped me from doing that type of stuff.
But you know what I would like to say is the peer pressure, especially I think in maybe parts of where I grew up, is strong in your hardness and your street cred and all that stuff. That goes a long way. So for you to say I ain't doing that, but they still accept you, that says a lot about your character. So I think that kind of it's kind of the prequel to your story in a way, in having your relationships with those people before, and during, and while you're still doing what you're doing. And we'll probably get into that here a little bit later. But I think that's an important part of where you're at and kind of how you've dealt with maybe your own family community, in the Black community, to be honest with you. I think that's a definitely a prequel to that.
And and really, honestly, that started me negotiating because I was negotiating a long time,
right?
Talking to, guys with guns. It's in the book, but a friend of mine who was selling weed for this big time dope dealer was stealing his money, or I guess not paying him or whatever. And we're sitting there, and the dope dealer walks up, pulls out a huge gun. It was a revolver. Looks like maybe a 357 44 Magnum. I mean, it was a huge silver revolver. And I remember I remember thinking, I can't run, because if I run, he's going to shoot me. And it wasn't, I wasn't involved in the drug trade, but I was smart enough to know that I can't run. I got to sit here. I got to sit here with my friend while he gets shot. But the negotiating part of it, I knew that I didn't know this at the time, but what I did was, if I can just de-escalate this situation, and basically what I did my whole career, if I can get the emotionality down, the rationality will go up. If I can get the emotionality down of this guy, I don't know how I knew that, but if I can just get it down and talk to him, and that emotionality, that rationality will go up. So I got it down, and I asked him questions like, how much does he owe you? He said the amount. I can't remember the amount. And I said, you know what, man, I ain't got nothing to do with it, but I can help him pay it back. I can work to help him pay it back. And I told him, I said, hey, if you kill him, you won't get your money. I'm just coming up with stuff off the top of my head, and it worked. He put the gun back in his waistband and allowed him to pay him. So, growing up in the hood, I negotiated for a long time.
Well, and I think that has a direct correlation when you say if you take the emotionality out of it and put the rationality, it will go up.
Yeah.
I think you would agree that most crime, and especially violent crime, is done off emotion.
Yes.
And so if you can walk that away from the situation, they always say cooler heads will prevail. And so, but knowing that as a kid, that seems odd, because I remember me as a kid, and you're going 90 miles an hour with your hair on fire and not thinking about any of that stuff. So it almost seems like from the beginning, this is kind of the path you took. Now, being you said the youngest of four, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's also a negotiator's dream to be that, because you're always trying to keep the peace among family.
Yeah.
While you're the target, actually, you're the beaten child. You're the target. You're the one that's going to get all the brunt. And depending on who came before you, you don't know what you're going to get. So to be able to do both of those things is pretty telling. No doubt.
Yeah, and and I think, with going back to what Jeff said about that, you told these guys, I'm not going to do that stuff, but you still had kind of that credibility. Do you think that comes from your brothers, that they knew who your family was?
Yeah, without a doubt. It's been, I've had several situations where, my brothers were, in the streets, lack of a better term. They were in the streets, and the guys knew them. And I had several situations where I was accosted by people or certain people, and I would go and tell my brothers, hey, this guy did something to me. And they were like, okay, we'll handle it. And, I remember I was maybe in the 6th grade one time. I feel bad about this, but I was in the 6th grade one time, and this huge white dude, we were in the bathroom together, and we were at the urinals together. And he was, I don't know what I did to him. I can't even remember what I did to him. Maybe I accidentally peed on his foot or something. I don't know what I did, but he was upset at me. He was upset at me. And my brother, like I said, was 2 years older than I was. So I was in the 6th grade. My oldest brother was my middle brother. I'm sorry. My middle brother was in the 8th grade. So I was in middle school. So just ironically, I don't know why this happened, but this guy was threatening to beat me up. I mean, he looked like a grown man he hadn't been 8th grade or whatever. But anyway, I'm leaving out of the bathroom, and my brother and his goons are coming in the bathroom. And he just knew. He said, "What's wrong?" I said, I looked at the guy, the big white dude. I said, I hate to do it to him, but I said, he, threatened to beat me up or whatever I said to my brother. My brother said, go ahead and go back to class. I guess my brother and his friends came in class to smoke cigarettes and stuff. So they weren't in class. I just came to class to use restroom. I came to the bathroom to use the restroom. But I can remember them beating that guy up, and I could hear it. And it was just the worst thing. I'm like, man, I shouldn't have said anything. I shouldn't have told him about what that guy did. Because and the guy seen me like the next day. He was
I'm sure very nice.
Yeah, he avoided me the next day. so yeah, that happens often.
Let me ask you something, and this is kind of jumping ahead, but we're going to go back and forth. When you've negotiated, when you worked undercover, because your brothers were in the drug game and stuff like that, when you worked undercover or as a negotiator or a SWAT, whatever you want to be, you ever seen your brother in those faces?
Yeah. I see.
And did it change the situation?
Oh, without a doubt. That helped me. That helped me because, even in patrol, dealing with these guys out here, chasing these guys, and maybe sometimes you have to spank these guys. They're going to fight you. They're going to resist. You have to spank them. But it helped me that if I did have to fight the guy, got him into custody, it's a done deal. It's over. But yeah, without a doubt, and not only my brothers, my family members, you'd be hard pressed to find black folks without their family members going to prison. Bottom line, it may hurt people's feelings, but it's the truth. My wife included. A lot of her, uncles and close family members, males that is, went to prison. So a lot of the people that I hung with and still see to this day, at family reunions or at cookouts or whatever case may be, did hard time. These guys did hard time. And if I was at work, I would probably see that guy and have a different reaction. But these guys are, I've known since my whole life, some killers. These guys went to jail for murder. But them, they're good people. They're very loyal. And I know that about these hood dudes. These hood dudes are very, very loyal. They'll die for you. They're very loyal. So, they know me and I know them, and we keep it, like that.
So what is the dynamic like, now? the book. Now we're kind of going back and forth, like Dustin said, but the book kind of gets into how you relate to family and friends, in how you can see the side of the frustrations in the hypocrisies in those arrests that maybe they're not warranted in shootings. And then you also can see the side of the police where they're justified shootings, and you can see the proportions of race and all that. How was that balance between being able to talk to your family and friends that are Black versus being a police officer? And how do you balance that and stay true to yourself, but stay true to your profession and also your family and friends?
Really, I think the biggest thing is just to be honest. Just to be honest, because it is what it is. It is what it is. If an officer does something stupid, it is what it is. If a suspect, fights an officer or shoots at an officer or whatever, has his gun, dope, or whatever, it is what it is. You have to be honest, and you can't. I just don't think that you can, and like we're seeing today, that a lot of the groups out here today with these people, they're coddling these people. If this guy did something wrong, he did it wrong. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He is wrong, and I don't think that that guy did something wrong, but the police did this, and the police are wrong. No, and honestly, I learned that early. This is what I learned early. One of my best friends got killed by the police when I was in high school, and he was a drug dealer. Like I said, most of my friends were drug dealers. He was a drug dealer, and I got a scholarship, a football scholarship. And I remember him telling me, "Okay, we're gonna party the whole summer, because I know you got to go to practice early, right?" We had 2-a-days. I should have been working out instead of partying, but anyway, I was partying with him, and I go to practice. I was a quarterback in high school, and I was recruited as a quarterback in college. And I went to college, and being a quarterback, you go to practice before everybody because you have meetings, and you get out of practice after everybody because you have an offensive meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So I got out of practice late, and I went to my room. And when I went to my room, my roommate, who was a running back, he was looking kind of weird. I'm like, "What's up, man?" And he was like, "Hey, man, your girlfriend is going to call you at 5:30. And my girlfriend, she's my wife now, and she doesn't even remember this. When I told her that, she didn't even remember this. I don't know how she can not remember this. But anyway, she called me and told me my best friend had got killed. And I'm like, "What happened?" And police shot him. I'm like, "What? Police shot him?" "Yeah, he tried to rob the police," is what she told me. I'm like, "Tried to rob the police? What do you mean?" What happened was, it was an undercover deal. He was trying to rob some undercover officers that he didn't know were police officers. And they shot him 7 times, either 4 times in the chest, 3 in the back, or 3 in the chest and 4 in the back. And I distinctly remember saying to my roommate, "Man, they shot him in the back." And, I was upset at the police because they killed one of my good friends. But knowing what I know now, they should have shot him more than once. I mean, more than 7 times, because he shot 2 of them. So, and I have empathy for people like that, and these people going around out here saying, defund the police, and the police are this and that, because at 18, 19 years old, I was that guy. I was that guy because I had a friend of mine that was shot by the police, but I have a different perspective now. I have a different perspective.
So quickly, can I ask where you played college football at?
At Angelo State University.
All right, I was a quarterback at Baylor, so we share that.
And I guess I'll bring it up. I was recruited. What year did you go to Baylor?
I played from 94 to 97.
Okay, I'm older than you. So I was recruited. I was recruited by Baylor, and I was in class, high school. I was in high school. My head coach comes and gets me out of class, and he's standing with this black dude. I have no idea who he was. No idea. He was just, and Coach Crumpton was just asking me just some weird questions like, Okay, what'd you have for breakfast this morning? I'm like, yeah, I had this, I had that, Okay, and he's just asking me some weird questions, right? So he said, okay, you can go back to class. And he told me later that was a recruiter from Baylor, and he was recruiting. I'm like, oh man, okay. And so what happened was, you know, when I was in high school, I never took the SAT or ACT.
Really?
Yeah, because it cost $220 or something like that.
Okay.
I knew my mother didn't have $120. I didn't even ask. So I didn't go to Baylor, so I had to go to a junior college first, right? I had to go to junior college, but Baylor came there, and they were at my games, and I just think I should have went to Baylor. Long story short, should have went to Baylor.
So where were you in college at?
I went to
Like-
Trinity Valley, and
So what years?
89 through 90, 89.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you were an option run pass kind of guy?
Well, yeah, I wasn't an option, but I was an athletic quarterback that can
Yeah.
run. Because when I went to Angelo State, I got moved to receiver, and I made All-American at receiver.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a huge jump.
Yeah,
And you're what do you use, like 6'2", 230 now?
yeah, 6'2", 230. Well,
Yeah.
then I was 6'2", about 205.
I know we're getting sidetracked here, but you brought up football, and I was like, oh, that's my jam. So I got to shout out. As a quarterback, I understand. Like you have to get there early. You grind.
Yeah.
You stay late. You watch film. You're constantly under the microscope, and so I relate to that. But that's probably why you've made such a great negotiator and SWAT guy. You were a leader young. You were a leader in your football. You were a leader within a team. You were diverse enough to play quarterback, then receiver, and that probably got you mad respect, because there's nothing more than an athlete that says, a lot of guys quarterback, and he plays receiver too, and he's a bomb receiver. Mm-hmm. That gives you straight credibility. But your actions are what gives you the credibility. And then if you have a voice behind it like you do, it's no question why you've ended up where you're at. And, I don't want to get too lost in that, but that's, I think, a very important role, to be real honest with you. Those experiences are really important. No doubt. They harden you up.
Definitely. It definitely did.
So going back to when you learned about your friend being shot, you said that you have empathy for these people these days, that was you at 18, 19 years old. Mm-hmm. This is kind of a two-parted question. One, what made you change from that thought process? Because you even said yourself, if I knew what I know now, they should have shot him more times. Mm-hmm. And number two, is that even possible today of how you changed? Is it possible to change those people, or have we reached a critical mass to where it's not possible to come back from it?
Good question.
I think it's possible to change them, because honestly, this is going to sound cliche, but educating people not educated, man. They're not educated about what we do. And I say that because after 7/7, after the shooting, I was kind of voluntold to go to these Black Lives Matter panels, right? I had to go to these panels, right? And it was like me, I'm the only police officer sitting up here on this panel with, 7, 8 Black Lives Matter people, ministers and whatever, in this black church up in North Dallas, and these churches or whatever, full of black folks, right? So anyway, it was kind of a setup, and I'm like, these guys, people are not listening. So, but at the end of the little, I guess, town hall meeting that we had, these people would come up to me, and they would talk to me, and they were like, "Hey, thank you for trying to explain, what officers do, and yada yada yada." And this one female said to me, she said, "But police, they just have to stop shooting so many black people." And it was right after Alton Sterling, which is the one who got shot in Baton Rouge. He was outside the store selling CDs full of guns.
Okay, yeah.
And it was right after that. And she said, and just the shooting in Baton Rouge, oh my God, I just can't believe it. And I said, "Did you watch the video?" She said, "Yeah, it was just so brutal, I couldn't watch it." And she had a little kid with her. And I said, "Okay." I said, "Is this your son?" She said, "Yeah." I said, what's his name? She says, Michael. I said, how old is it? He says, she's 12. Hey, Michael, shake his hand. I'm in full uniform. I'm in uniform. And hey, how you doing? I said, hey, I told her, the mother, play a game with me. Let's fast forward 10 years. Michael, this guy, your baby, wants to be a Dallas police officer. And she's like, oh my God. I said, hey, well, hold on. Just stay with me here. I said, he wants to be a Dallas police officer. And he's 22 years old. He gets out of the academy. You're proud of him. He graduated the academy. He's going to be a fine officer. I said, he gets out of academy. He's with his field training officer. He's in the passenger seat. His field training officer's driving. And I told her, I said, he gets a call of a black male, 6'3", 300 pounds, red shirt, just pulled a gun on a complainant in front of a store. Michael, I said, your baby is en route to that call. He gets to that call. He sees what he believes is a suspect. He's a red shirt, fit the description a little bit. Your baby, Michael, gets out of the car. Said, hey, man, do me a favor. Put your hands in the car for me. And that guy says, man, screw you. You just messing with me because I'm black and yada, yada, yada. Hey, man, I got a call on you. Put your hands in the car. And your baby, I said, ma'am, your baby, Michael, takes out his taser and tells that guy, put your hands on the car. Do it now. The guy resists. I'm not going to put my hands on the car. And your baby, Michael, tries to tase the guy. And I told her, one prong hit, one prong miss. And your baby, Michael, has to go hands on. He grabs the guy. He and his FTO, field training officers, fighting this guy. They fall on the ground. I said, somebody walks out of the store with a camera and they're filming your baby, Michael, fighting this guy. And I said, your baby, Michael, is holding the guy's legs and this guy sticks his hand in his pocket. And I said, your baby feels a gun in his pocket. And your baby pulls out his gun. Michael pulls out his gun and says, do not take your hand out of that pocket. I'm going to freaking shoot you. He loses grip on that hand. Your baby, Michael, shoots that guy and kills him. And he sees you the next day and he said, Mom, I had to shoot that guy. I thought that guy was going to kill me. And I asked that woman, I said, did your baby, Michael, make the right decision? She said, oh my God, yes. I said, that's what happened. And she said, oh my God. Oh, I know what you did to me. You told me the facts of the case. I said, no. I said, you knew the facts of the case. I said, what I did, I just switched the emotionality of the case. You
made it relatable to her situation.
Exactly. I did that to four people on those panels that I was on. I did it to the leaders, a guy named Robert, it's a leader of the Black Lives Matter movement of that town hall meeting. He even said, yeah, if it happened like that, yeah. I mean, I can't even argue. I did that to the people at the mayor's office when I worked for the mayor who was complaining about the shootings. They said yes. So I think it's more of just an educational thing, and that's on us. And the old Jack Nicholson. I know me and Kelly was talking about this, or just the Few Good Men, when Jack Nicholson is on the stand and he's saying, you can't handle the truth, that little soliloquy he had, and he's talking about that, and he's saying, I don't have to explain myself to people that rise and sleep under the very freedom that I provide. I just wish you said thank you. You know what I'm saying? But we can't have that attitude. We have to explain that to people. We have to explain what we're doing to people. We can't just say, you should just say thank you, because you rise and sleep on the very freedom that the police officers provide, and you need us on the wall and all that. And I think that's the biggest issue. We just have to explain it to people, and they want to know.
Well, now more than ever with social media, with the outlets in all these different, people have these experts, different takes. I think the front lines to me are educating, like what you're doing on the front lines. You're going and you're going to these town hall meetings. You're engaging with individuals. You're eloquently, but very passionately and strategically talking to them to give them a perspective that's not just the obvious white cop, black suspect, or vice versa. And I think that's what it's all about. Is you figured it out. That's your words versus your weapons. You've got both of them, obviously, being in SWAT. I think that's the role that you play, and that cops play, and specialized people like yourself play, is hey, education is key, and community outreach is important. And anytime you can do that to support what you're doing, I think that's vitally important. I think that's a crucial part of the whole crusade, if you will. There's no doubt that's an integral part to me, and I think you're doing a fantastic job of that.
Thank you.
So there's a book out there called Never Split the Difference. And it's by Chris Voss. He was a negotiator. I think you know Chris.
I don't know him, but yeah, I know it. Yeah, I know
of him.
Yeah.
Never Split the Difference. And so he talks about negotiation in there, and he talks about always. You talk about taking the emotionality out, raising the rationality. He talks in there in the book about always asking the person, "How do you expect me to get that done?" When he's negotiating with the person, not emotionality, but saying, okay, you want this. Well, how do you expect me to get that done if you're doing this? And how do you expect me to get that done? How do those two things tie together? And the reason that I'm asking this question and setting it up is because we're going to move into the headquarters shooting next about you talking and how long you talked and all that kind of stuff. So do those things tie together? Are they separate? Do they run together? How does that work?
Yeah, I think, and I stole some stuff from Chris. It's kind of funny, but yeah, when you ask someone, how do you expect me to get that done? What you're doing, you're making this person have rational thought. If they wanted me to walk on water, right? I want you to walk on water. How do you want me to get that done? What do I need to do? And oftentimes those guys will say, yeah, you're right. We can't do that. Or I want you to do this. I want you to do that. And then we you know, in the world of negotiations, we call it a PPA, a positive police action. So if we do something for him, and it's just basically social theory. Basically, it's just in social theory, it just have 6 points or 7 points now, but I just use 6 because the 7th one is redundant. But it's just reciprocity. It's one of the theories of social. One of the social theories. The first one is reciprocity. I do something for you. Your people are compelled to do something. If just like your buddy, it's like if your buddy gets you a Christmas gift or whatever. Like, oh hell, Kelly got me a Christmas gift. I got to get him something. Most normal people would say that. Normal people.
You don't have to worry about that. I won't ever do that. So
normal people would. If you got me a gift, I was like, dang, I got to get him a gift.
Yeah,
that's just a theory of reciprocity. So, and that's where that emotionality comes in at, because once you get that emotionality down, it's like the seesaw, the old school seesaw when you were little and you were on the seesaw, and it goes like that. And once you get that emotionality down, the rationality is going to go up. And that's what Chris is doing. Chris wants that person to think rationally. And I stole from Chris, and every single time I said this on the negotiations, everybody laughed. But I stole from Chris. Chris said, well, you have a guy inside of a house and he's got a gun or whatever case may be. And he's not, threatening anybody. Anybody's in there with him. You ask that person, how much do you love yourself? How much do you love yourself? Because you're in control of the situation. You're in control, because for this situation to end, all you have to do is walk out that front door and put the gun down and walk out the front door. And when I would ask them that over the loud hailer, I would hear laughter every single time.
Really?
Yeah. And when I asked them, how much do you love yourself? Because they never heard that. They would be like, after it was over, suspect in custody, oh, how much do you love yourself? And they didn't understand what I was doing. They didn't understand it, but it was kind of funny. But yeah, I stole that from Chris.
Was that kind of bringing them forefront to back to reality? Like, I know what you're doing, but don't you love yourself? Like,
yeah.
So, talking about the loud hailer and you asking them that, do you want to maybe go into your first negotiation on the loud hailer?
Yeah, I remember. I was so embarrassed, man. I was so embarrassed, and the reason why I was embarrassed is because um, I was embarrassed because it was the ultimate SWAT guy. You know, if you know these guys, but Kelly, Steve Claggett, and those guys. It was those guys, and I wasn't their negotiator. I was on Steve Claggett and all those guys. They were in the A unit. I was in E unit.
Well, an easy way we can say this is the guys you're talking about. Those were on the TV show Dallas SWAT.
Yeah, there was
a
on
lot
TV.
of those guys were.
Yeah, and I remember negotiating with this guy. Well, I wasn't necessarily negotiating with him. I was talking to him. He was inside. He might have committed suicide, but I can't even remember. But I was just talking to him, and my voice was cracking, and it's weird hearing your voice. It's just weird because everybody is going to hear you, and everybody's going to hear the inflection in your voice, and everybody's going to hear it. And it just was an embarrassing. It was very, very embarrassing the first couple of times I did it. But Steve Claggett came up to me and said, "You can negotiate for me anytime." I don't know why he said that. He just walked by me and said it, because he was a butthole. But and I like the guy, but he was just
really?
Yeah, he was just an arrogant, nice hair, guy. Like he fixed his hair before he went on a barricaded subject. But and he was just it. And after he said that, I'm like, maybe I can do it.
I think the guy actually did kill himself, right? You talked for quite a few hours, and he was dead inside.
Yeah, he was dead. I just remember. Yeah, now that you mention that, yeah, he was dead. It was on Samuel down there on Southeast. He was in an apartment, shot himself, and I was I talked to him for hours while he was dead. So
what do you take away from that, Larry?
Yeah, that's a good point.
In what way? What do you? I mean,
what do you take away as a police officer, and what do you take away as a negotiator from that? Because
in a person,
right? Yeah, you're literally talking to a dead guy, trying to get him to come out of the apartment. Which now, hindsight,
right?
Hindsight, we know that guy's never coming out.
Yeah.
So does it kind of kick you in the balls? Does it, where you're like, man, what's the point of this?
Initially, I felt that way, but after a while, once you started, and this is kind of weird, but once you start talking to no one, you learn to talk to someone in your brain. But you're audibleizing what you're saying, right? You're speaking, but I can have a conversation with nobody. I can have a conversation, and in order to and how do you have that conversation is the inflection in your voice. If I'm loud hailing a guy and I'm just talking to a guy, I would say, "This is Dallas Police SWAT team coming out the front door. We have the house surrounded." See, I'm not talking to anybody. There's no inflection in my voice. But if I was actually having a conversation with somebody, I would say, "Hey, you know what? This is Dallas Police SWAT team. Will you do me a favor? Big favor. Come out the front." It's a different type of speech.
Okay.
It's a different type of speech, and it reaches people. The auto tone doesn't reach many people because they're sitting there hiding, peeking out the window, saying, "I ain't coming out." But when you say something to the fact that, "James, listen, I know you're sitting in there thinking we're going to go away. James, we're not going away."
And James was the apocalypse van, right?
It was who? Oh yeah.
That's the apocalypse van that we can talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. He was
smoking a cigarette.
Yeah. James was he was a hard one because he was mentally ill. Those are the worst people to negotiate with because they're not on our time clock. They're on another clock, and they can wear you down. So that was James. I forgot. Yeah, his name was James.
And so, that's what I was going to say. Why don't you go ahead and set that up? That was a good point with the apocalypse van. Go ahead and set that up, Larry.
What happened was James Boulware was he was a guy who he was thinking about doing an active shooter in Paris. He was thinking about shooting up a school in Paris, Texas. That is
okay.
In Paris, Texas, and I guess someone called and said, "Hey, you might want to check this guy out. He's going to shoot somebody, whatever the case may be." Paris, Texas went and interviewed him. It pissed him off. So what he did was it pushed him he came back to Dallas. He assaulted his mom, and they were like, hey, this guy's unstable. We need to take his son away. His son's about like 10, 11 years old.
Okay.
And so CPS took his son away because James was unstable. And once they did that, once they took his son away, and they charged James with family violence assault because he choked his mother when they took the son. So they charged him with that. So that's why Dallas PD was kind of connected into it, because Dallas PD had charged him with that assault. So James come to headquarters about midnight, around midnight. Thank God it was at midnight. Why he came at midnight, I don't know. But he comes with a apocalypse vehicle that he bought on eBay for like $6,600, I think. And he comes to the front of the headquarters, and the van is a old Gwinnett County SWAT van with shooting ports on the side of the van. So James, what he does, he pulls up the van, parks, walks to the back of the van, out one of the shooting ports. Oh, let me back up. Prior to that, James told me this. He pulled the van up in the parking lot next to headquarters. He got a device, a bomb, and he was walking the bomb to sit it down, but he seen some police officers. So he stopped. He said he didn't want them to get that bag. And he said they went inside. He set the bomb down, and then he got in the van and pulled in front of headquarters and shot up the headquarters with a rifle. And that started the whole thing off.
And he had a bunch of C4 in that van.
No, he didn't have any. He just
said he had some.
Said he had it. It was
what it was.
Yeah, it was black powder, but we thought it was C4. He said it was C4. He said he had 20 pounds, but it wasn't. It was just black powder.
So how does that whole thing go? How long does it last? And I find the last part interesting, how, smoking a cigarette, doing his thing, and you guys took him out, right?
Yeah, what happened was it lasted. I was on the phone with him about 4 hours, right around 4 hours.
Wow.
What happened was once Dallas County Sheriff spiked his tires, and he pulled into a Jack in the Box, and once he pulled into Jack in the Box, he opened the back door and just opened up on the patrol officer that was following him. And we were behind the car chase. So I finally get there, and I'm thinking, okay, I grabbed everything that killed. I grabbed all my mags. I didn't grab a phone or anything. I was like, okay, he opened that door again. I'm just going to dump a mag inside the back door. And while I'm sitting there beside the bank, relieving the patrol officers, my supervisor says, hey, he just called 911. He wants to talk. So I had to run all the way back to my car, get on the phone with him, start talking to him, try to get him calmed down. After probably about 4 that morning, I got on the phone with him probably about midnight. I mean, it was just after midnight. And about 4, he set the bomb off at the headquarters. He called it and he armed it. I didn't know that at the time, but the FBI got his phone number and stuff. He armed it because it had a phone on the device. And just a side note, they flew a guy here, ATF agent from DC, to try to recreate that device, and he couldn't do it. He said, man, I know this stupid guy can't do this device. They weren't sure who did it. At that time, they had never seen it in the United States.
Really?
Yeah. A few months later, it was in Yakima. They seen another one. The ATF guy told me, we only seen this in Iraq and Afghanistan. We've never seen this here. So anyway, once the device goes off, my lieutenant said, hey, push him and see what happens. So I decided I talked real reckless to him. I called him a vagina. I didn't say vagina. I said,
you said, like, oh, what's up? You're going to be like defending your son?
Yeah.
You're going to be a fucking father?
That's
like
exactly,
you were like called him out.
Yeah.
Are you going to be there for your son? What the fuck are you doing?
That's exactly what I told him. I said, I called him a pussy. I called him everything. I talked to him real reckless. And just to see what he did, because we were hoping he would cook the device off and just blow himself up. Right.
And he threatened that too.
Oh yeah, he threatened it the whole time. But
I'll blow you all up with my C4,
Yeah, but he never did. It actually had the reverse effect. It made him childlike after I was like a a
Really?
father. Yeah, I was like a father to him or something.
And that's when he kind of grew a little bit of a relationship with them and knew how to handle them, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I knew Keith was on a house about 80 yards out with a 50 cal because we had shot the radiator. We put about 4 rounds in the radiator while I was on the phone with him, and he went off and like, you guys are crazy. I got a bomb in here, and I'm telling him, hey, we're not fucking around. James, get your ass out of that van. Get your ass out of the fucking van. I was just going off on him, right? And he was like, okay, let me think about it. I'm gonna smoke a cigarette. And by this time, I know we have a code 100 on him. And a code 100 is when a sniper see him, shoot him. That's a code 100. So, and I knew I had to make it to the command post. I was at the command post, but I'm sitting in my own Tahoe. I'm on the phone with him. I knew I had to make it to the lieutenant to tell him, take that code 100 off. But I got about 5 steps, and I'm running past Chief Cato, who is the chief of Mesquite now. I'm running past him, and I heard that 50 cal go off, and Chief Cato.
Oh man!
Chief Cato jumped about this high. I'm like, what was that? I said, we just shot him. He said, are you sure? I said, yeah. I said, I didn't recognize 50 cal, and I couldn't get over there fast enough to say, hey, take the code 100 off. Take it off. Take it off. He's thinking about coming out. So he raised up because he was behind the driver's seat, and he raised up and Keith saw him and shot him.
That was under the circumstances. That was probably the right move. Do you not agree?
Yeah, I mean, we had to end it. He was talking about blowing people up, and I was devastated after they shot him. About a day.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Without a doubt.
You thought you had him. You had him. You could save him.
Yeah. Yeah. I was devastated. It's almost like, the end of the game, you're about to catch this touchdown. You're all alone, and no time on the clock, and you drop the pass. You're just devastated. I had it. We won. We won the game, and
you can get there in time.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, but it lasted about 2 days, and I was good after that.
So in this, you take away, you're almost there. This happens. Ultimately, it comes to a resolution that you didn't want it to come to. But it did come to a resolution. Mm-hmm. So once again, and I do this for each one of these things because I want people to understand the psychology behind what you're doing, what you carry with you. What do you walk away from this one? This one you had won and you lost it in the end. Mm-hmm. So what do you walk away with this one, and what do you learn going forward? Because coming up very quickly behind this is the one that changed your career.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing the biggest takeaway from this one is, just the way we do our business in Dallas SWAT. And that was the biggest thing, because that was the failure. Because if I was still on the phone with him and we had a secondary person there to help me, he could have went and told the lieutenant. So the takeaway was more of an operational flaw that we had, because every negotiating team this side of the Atlantic has a negotiation team, everybody. But the problem with Dallas SWAT is we have an integrated team, so the negotiators are SWAT officers, and some of the guys wants to go to the house instead of go to the phone. So, and coupled with the fact that we have so many of them, and we just get desensitized to it. So, like if let's say, Plano negotiators, they get a call out right now, it's probably gonna have 9 negotiators because they don't get them very often. They don't get them very often. Our SWAT team gets called out constantly on nonsense, so you get desensitized to it, and that's part of what happened.
So you think not from a personal perspective, then this comes from training, and
I'm going to step away for 2 minutes. Sorry.
This comes from like a training and a desensitization. So once that happens, once you're desensitized, you don't get it back.
No.
Whether you're in the military, whatever it may be. Chefs get it, when they can be around hot stuff all the time or whatever it is. Once that sensitivity goes away, it never comes back. So how do you move forward without that sensitivity there? Because I would believe that right behind that desensitization comes jadedness. And with jadedness, you get a little less and less empathetic is the word you used.
Yeah, and it can happen. That's why you have it helps to have countermeasures. And the countermeasures are people that can check you or you check yourself. You have what we call the board. We never use it. My board was a steno pad. But if you get the negotiations, they have a board and it have things written on the board. So okay, we're gonna check that off. We're gonna check that off. We're gonna do that. We're gonna do this. And it's the barricaded subject is run by a group. It's not necessarily just run by one person. It's not a group thing. Everybody has their own jobs and ability. Like you're supposed to have a guy on the phone. That's a primary. You're supposed to have a guy listening. That's the secondary. You're supposed to have an intel guy, which the guy's running back and forth to his family. Hey, what's he like to eat and this and that. And, you have a guy running the board. And Dallas PD, we do none of that. Unless it's a big deal, unless it's a huge deal, but it's just we just don't do it. We're just lazy, basically.
So and do you think that came forward to bite you guys in the next scenario that we're talking about, or do you think that it was okay with the situation that was in place? Because I would think that 95% of the situations goes into it's going to be okay, because if it wasn't, that would change quickly. It would change procedures, general orders, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we could change it. We just don't, with that machismo thing going on, but the situation that when I was by myself again on 7/7, and actually I had just got back from Quantico 28 days prior to that. And the FBI negotiators were downstairs texting me saying, hey,
I think you should explain what you were doing in Quantico.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that'll help people understand why they were down there talking to you.
Yeah. What the deal with James Boulware, it was the first time it has ever happened in history in the United States. Law enforcement shot somebody with a 50 caliber sniper rifle and did a command charge on his vehicle. And that type of, it was just never happened. So what they did was they got me in the school in Quantico, a hostage negotiation school. And it's hostage and kidnapping. Kidnapping part was great. And I was there for 2 weeks. And it was myself and another guy from Oregon. He was a county guy from Oregon. We were only 2 police officers there. Everybody else was FBI agents. And we learned a lot. And it was a Dallas office, the Dallas FBI agents from the field office in Dallas that was there with me. And we were all on the same team. So when we did these scenarios, we went from like 7 in the morning to like 10 at night. I mean, it was humping. It was humping. And we had the hostage rescue team, HRT out of DC. Well, not out of DC, but they're out of Quantico. But there were some bad mofos. They were some bad dudes. And we worked with them. We did scenarios with them. And I mean, and my negotiation ability was helped exponentially. It was helped just going to the school. But anyway, after that, 28 days later, 7/7 happened. And
really?
And those people that was downstairs texting me was in Quantico with me. And they were like, hey, we're down here. I'm like, and I was telling them, hey, just FYI, I'm not on the phone. I said, I'm in the hallway. And I said, I can't ask you to come up here and do this. You didn't sign up for that. They were like, no, we have vests, we have helmets, we'll come. I said, please come on. I need you. But our command staff wouldn't let them up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wouldn't let them upstairs.
So let's go into it. Let's go into July 7th. And it's interesting, Jeff thinks that a really interesting part of this story is what you're doing prior. Am I correct in saying that, Jeff?
I
Before
think so.
everything. Yeah. So what you're doing prior, you hear that this happens, and let's go from here. Let's walk through the night because this is what we came here for. So what are you doing before it comes out, as it comes out, after it comes out?
Uh, Before it came out, we worked all the protests in SWAT. Ever since I've been in SWAT, we worked every protest. We just worked every protest. We had snipers up. For some reason, we didn't work this protest. We were on the tag beats, which is we were doing patrol duties. We were a full-time SWAT team. We don't do patrol duties. We were doing patrol duties that night. So we're doing patrol duties, and I'm on the phone with my niece, and my niece is talking to me about her son. She has I think he's 15 right now. By the time he's probably 11 or so, and she's like, "Hey, I'm worried about my son. Is he going to get shot and this and that?" And I'm trying to explain to her, no, it's not as bad as you think. And she's crying, and I remember while I was on the phone with her, and I was talking to her about the number of shootings, and she's saying, they're killing us and this, and I heard the officer down on the radio, and I told her, "Hey, I got to call you back." And I hung up, and I listened, and it was downtown, which was just about 2 minutes or so where I was, and I just headed that way to downtown.
So you get there, you see everything that's going on the outside as you're coming in. Throw on all your gear, correct?
Yeah, I threw it on while I was en route. I stopped and put all my gear on while I was en
Okay,
route.
that's smart.
And so when we talked to Matt about this, he talked about the different ammunition that he could have taken into there. He decided to kind of double up, take both kinds of ammunition with him. Anything special about what you're taking in there with you? Of course, you're going to be the negotiator, but is there anything that you're special taking in there?
Yeah, I made sure I grabbed a phone this time because
Okay.
because I didn't have one with James because in case I need to talk. And also, I did have barrier rounds. I knew once I knew
Okay.
once I knew he was inside a location, I put the barrier rounds in. So I knew we may have to shoot through a barrier. So I already had my barrier rounds in. I already had it loaded in my rifle.
So you
And
get
this is
there.
what I'm sorry, but this was like words worth of weapons. Like this was the point in the book where you're going from negotiator, but you're still an active shooter. You're still in shooter mode.
hmm
You're trying to get to a location that suits you for what you need to do, right?
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
And we were
And
actually
so
told to go to headquarters though at first.
so as you get there, the building, he's inside the building. Set the scene for us outside. What do you see as you're going in, and what mind state does this put you into? Because we asked Matt the same thing.
Yeah.
Once I get there, um, I remember parking. I had to park by it was so many squad cars. I had to park by the um, Greyhound station.
Okay.
So I hook up with two other SWAT guys as just so we got there at the same time. We hooked up. I'm already out. I'm already dressed, so I'm ready to rock. So once we get there, we knew that he had been shooting out of the parking garage or somewhere in that area. So we started making it, and we hugged the building. We started hugging the building of that parking garage. And I remember looking up at the parking garage, and I see a rifle. And I remember asking the patrol officers, "Where's he at? Where's the suspect at?" And they pointed, different directions. I'm like,
Oh
"Oh,
no.
yeah." I'm like, "Oh man, okay." And I said, "Who is that guy right there?" Nobody knew it was a guy with a rifle. And I'm just sitting up there sitting underneath this building, looking at the parking garage, looking at the guy with a rifle. So I'm thinking, if that guy point that rifle in this direction, I'm going to shoot at him. I don't know who he is, but if he pointed at us, I'm going to shoot at him. Come to find out, it was a deployment officer, some deployment officer. But anyway, they finally told us after Sergeant Mike Smith got shot. They said, hey, he's around on the other side. He's shooting out that side of the building. And the APC pulled up right after drop Mike off and said, he's shooting out that side of the building. So we went to the glass that he shot out, right where Brent Thompson had got shot. And we stepped over Brent. I remember looking down at the brain matter of Brent Thompson. And I was like, oh my God. And I remember thinking, I'm going to die in here. I'm going to die in here. And
so this guy was actually a headhunter.
Oh, he was different. He was that guy. He was the guy you trained for. Basically, he wasn't.
So,
you know,
in saying that, it's interesting that you said, I'm gonna die in here tonight. That's exactly what went through Matt's head. Matt said, I'm gonna die here. And Matt said that he took it a step further and said that he thought, is it gonna hurt? Is it gonna go fast? Is it gonna go slow? Is it gonna? He thought of a
very detailed, like things. It's gonna burn my chest up. I'll be shot.
Absolutely. Yeah. So he says the same thing as you going in. I'm gonna die here tonight. Yeah. Now that makes a very heightened sense of awareness, not only about you but everyone around you. So let's talk, because I think people need to hear this, and it's the same thing that I said to Matt. Or you think that you're going to die in there. How do you keep going through the door?
Well, I think the fact that it was more of a training thing, that I said to myself, I said, breathe, relax, focus. I mean, I said that the whole time. It was almost like a chant, almost like like a, just like a chant, like relax, focus, because that's what's going to get you killed. If you don't have good tactics and you don't take that blind spot, or you don't pie this corner correctly, it's going to get you shot. So I knew I had to just focus.
So your tactics were also like your words. Take the emotions out of it. Focus on your job.
Yeah.
Follow your procedures, your training. That's what you focused on.
Yeah, and you had to. And all the while we're searching for him, we're coming up on people. So I mean,
you have a blood trail.
Yeah, and you're coming up on officers, you're coming up on students, and just you come around a corner and you confront somebody, and you're like, oh my God, okay, it's a woman, and you keep going, oh my God, it's an officer. Okay, keep going. And it was just almost just a roller coaster of emotions going through the school. And it was just and I'm sure it was only 5 minutes. I can't even time is so distorted. It was so distorted. I can't even tell you how it was.
Matt compared it to a dreamscape. He said it's almost like you go into a living dream as you come through the door. That's going through your head. Everything slows down around you. And like you said, you make it to the stairwell. So you get upstairs. Now we have some pictures that I'll let you, Jeff, in just a second. We have some pictures, and we're going to actually show where you were at. So I want you to describe those. But Jeff, go ahead and ask.
So I was going to say, so Baines said like when he's in the moment, auditory went blank. His hearing, but his vision was there. For you, did you have certain instincts or visual hearing? Did you have any defaults, or were all your senses intact and you were formidable to go ahead?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, it was so honed at that point. The only thing that I think was. The only thing that I can think of, because whenever I'm in a situation, and I've noticed this ever since I was in patrol and working on narcotics, whenever it's chaos around me, I try to be as calm as possible. It calms me down, actually.
That's a uniqueness, and I think that's what happened to you growing up.
Yeah,
you were so young, calm, just to tie it in.
Yeah, it's just
that might.
Yeah. And so and I'm able to think and process information when it's at its everything is it's chaos.
Yeah.
So as far as the auditory exclusion, I didn't get it. It's just I got the distortion, the chronological distortion. Some things that I think happened previously, it didn't happen. It's just stress is it's hell on you. Stress is hell.
Yeah.
So you move up, you get upstairs. Let's go ahead and look at some of the pictures. You kind of describe what we're looking at, okay?
That's the hallway right there where he was in. If you walk through that opening right there and turn to the left and take about a couple steps, he was in that little alcove to the right. He was right in there.
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
And you'll notice a lot of the glass is shot out. There's a lot of bullet holes in the wall.
Drywall.
Yeah, that's the only thing was up there is drywall. So it wasn't good.
So really, it wasn't the structures that were keeping you safe. It was just obstruction of vision.
Yeah,
keeping you safe.
it was, and we call in the police world we call it not cover. Cover is something that a bullet that can't go through. We call
Right.
it was only concealment. Concealment is like bushes.
Concealment. Yeah.
It's just you're being concealed from the bad guy, like bushes or even a curtain. If you're behind a curtain or whatever the case may be, it's just concealment. It's not cover. That right there is almost his perspective, but that opening, you can see the opening of the light to the left there. That's where he was, and that little black thing at the end of the corner, that's where I was behind it. It was basically a ballistic blanket.
So we're talking 50 feet, 65 feet?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably.
Are you talking to him the whole time yet?
Yeah, the whole time. The whole time that I got up there, Matt was talking to him first.
So you're moving the whole time and talking.
Yeah, I just when I got up there, I was stationary at that corner right there, talking to him the whole time.
It's a lot of big chips off the drywall there.
Yeah.
So this is a third picture, but it looks pretty much the same. But the thing I want to point out is everything that is destroyed around there. And once again, we want to point out that there's really, 50, 65 feet away from this guy who has already killed 5 officers, wounded 11 more, and shot a civilian. And you're 65 feet away from him talking.
Yeah, and we had to be on top of him like that because we couldn't let him get away. We had to keep, and we didn't know how those hallways, it was like a maze up there. We just couldn't let him get away. We had to be on top of him like that.
Right. So there's once again, as you're thinking, as you're going through the door, through the stairwell, we still got to stand here.
Yeah.
So you start talking to this guy. Initial impression of talking to him.
Very likable guy. And with absolutely no fear. He didn't have any fear. He knew we were there essentially to kill him. He knew he was going to die. And that's what he wanted to do. And that was kind of shocking from the beginning.
You say very likable guy, so he had some sort of intrinsic whimsical personality within the devious want to kill everybody thing.
Yeah, and that's what stood out to me because he wasn't you have this thing in your brain about what the bad guy is going to be, what the boogeyman is going to be. He wasn't a boogeyman. He was just a guy.
Yeah.
He was just a guy.
Smart, sharp.
Yeah.
And very convicted with what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
He was down for anything and dying.
Yeah. He knew he had a SWAT team on that floor to kill him, and he wasn't afraid.
Well, Matt even said that he was funny, that he made Matt laugh a couple times.
Yeah. I laughed at him a couple times. He was very funny. He laughed. He sang this song.
He sang?
Yeah, he sang. He was singing this song, "Rolling on the River," and I
really,
yeah, Tina Turner, and I was and let me see, a few months prior to that, me and my family had went on a cruise, and
Oh yeah.
and we were playing music trivia, and I was doing well. I was knocking them down, and that song came on. And they was like, "What's the name of this song?" And I said, "Rolling on the River," and I got
Oh,
it. I got it
man.
wrong. I got it wrong, and it was Proud Mary.
Proud Mary, right?
Proud Mary.
Yeah,
Okay.
Proud Mary.
I can understand that.
Yeah, he was singing that song, and I said, "I bet you $100 you'll know the name of that song." And he said, "Rolling on the River." I said, "Nope, it's Proud Mary." It's like, "Oh, okay."
Oh.
Yeah." And I knew that because I had been on a cruise and I lost because of that song.
And Jeff, you should know that Larry only likes me to this day because of a song that he heard playing on my car one day.
What was it?
Go ahead, Larry.
I was walking into the building one day and I hear this song, a rap song produced by Dr. Dre.
Okay.
It was Mary J. Blige, and I was walking and I hear, and I expect to turn around and see this ghetto black dude that's driving up, and I look, and it was Kelly, and I don't even think I knew your name at the time.
What song was it?
It was I'm trying to think of the name of it.
Family Affair.
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's a good song.
Yeah, and I looked over, and I looked at him. And I don't know if you saw me staring at you when you got out of the car. I'm like, I can't believe he was. And it's fine listening to the song. I'm not saying the fact that he was listening to the song. It's just that I heard him before I saw him. That's how loud it was. Yeah, that's how loud it was.
He was rolling up hard, dog.
Yeah,
he was rolling up hard.
Yeah, he was.
He's trying to prove a point. I'm here to eat. I'm here to eat.
But here's the thing, and the reason I bring that up is one, perceptions. And we need to talk about that because I think that it's important that we talk about perceptions from the public, perceptions from police, perceptions from the suspect's point of view. And you thought, without even looking up, what did you think about that music? Who was rolling up on you?
It had to be a black dude, black female, actually. I just thought it was
great. Yeah. Thanks for giving him that soundbite.
Thank you so much for saying that.
Because it's Mary J. Blige. You know what I mean? And
listen, Notorious B.I.G. rapped with Mary J. Blige. I don't want to hear that shit about it was a girl rolling up.
No, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it because my wife loves Mary J. Blige. So it just
you're not helping things.
So Dustin was both in tune with rap and female rap.
So that's a strong perception, though. When you go into this situation, is it different this time? Because when we talk about the headquarters shooter, okay, and you're talking to him and you go through everything and finally you get to where you're cussing him out to get out, right?
Yeah.
And then we move to this one. As you come in, going into this, and it's the same thing I asked Matt. This is not going to end well.
No.
It's someone is not winning this one. There's going to be, this is a zero-sum game. Someone's going to win. Someone's going to lose this one. Does it change how you approach the situation talking to him?
Usually, but in a small part of me said I can get him.
Okay.
I can.
Even though you said I'm going to die here tonight.
Yeah. I said that because I didn't know where he was. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Not because of your negotiating skills.
Yeah.
But because of your location and not knowing what vantage point he had on you.
Yeah, because you ever see a movie where like the hero Tom Cruise or whoever is hiding in a office building, and you get the three bad guys that's searching the office building to kill him. And
that's Die Hard.
Yeah, like perfect, like Die Hard. Die Hard. Bruce Willis had the advantage. We don't, you think it's three bad guys with rifles or whatever case may be is looking for Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis has the advantage because he can get them at choke points. He knows where they are. They don't know where he is. He's
got a radio.
Yeah, he can get them at doorways.
He knows what's up.
Yeah, so that's why I was saying that, because he has the advantage. because you could funnel us down the hallway, and we don't know where he is, but he knows where we are because he
Was
hears.
there any point you felt like you had the advantage?
No, not no
No,
point, no point at all.
no point at all.
Because it's hard to have the advantage from a guy who has nothing to lose, because he's going
And
to
this
die.
guy didn't. Like he was saying, he even said, from talking to Baines, he's talking about all sorts of crazy stuff. So, in your experience talking, what was there any things he said that you can remember that were like, this guy ain't right?
No, not at all. I mean, he was very lucid, very he was correct on a lot of stuff he was saying. He was, and James Bower told me, he told us where Osama bin Laden was, so I knew he was a little detached from reality. But this guy, I'm sure for I don't know, a psychologist would say he was delusional, but I don't like to say people are crazy, because when you say somebody's crazy, it's dismissive. It's dismissive
I
of
agree with that.
it's dismissive of their motives. Like, oh, that guy's, why did he do that? Oh, this guy's crazy. But this guy,
No, it's too easy.
yeah, this guy wasn't crazy to me.
No, it was calculated.
Yeah,
He was ready. He was dark. Yeah.
yeah.
And so, Larry, I think this is a perfect time as you're talking to him. You said that he doesn't sound crazy. He sounds like he knows what he's doing. And we have some recordings of you talking to him. What's going to help out is Larry has made it to where the words are on the screen so you can see while you're watching. Let's listen to a part of this. We're going to talk about revolution. You and I have talked about this already, Larry. I've showed you the clip.
Okay.
We're going to play revolution, and then what goes through your mind, what goes through his mind, where do we move from here on the debate?
Okay.
I understand that. But maybe if you tell your story on some type of news channel, the people who don't feel you will feel you. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, there's been too many people talking over. Shut the revolution, brother. If you are my brother, turn the weapon on those sides. No, not.
Let's stop right there for just a second, Larry.
Okay.
He tells you right there, it's time to stop talking. It's time for revolution. Turn your rifle on those behind you.
Mm-hmm.
He's inciting you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, man. That's a powerful thing to tell you to turn on your brothers.
Yeah.
Because and you would agree, because we've already established that he was there to kill white cops. That was his motive.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I think is interesting about that part is he's using you as another black man to carry on his idea.
Yeah.
But he thought, he was so into his thought that in his brain, it registered that all I got to do is tell this guy to turn around. He'll do what he wouldn't have ever told that to Baines.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't have. And
yeah,
the first thing he did, when you heard him say, "If you are my brother," so therefore he knew I was black. But before, he didn't know I was black.
Yeah, he even said, "You don't sound black."
Yeah, and I told him I went to college. That's why I don't sound black. And he laughed. And he started laughing, and immediately I knew I can get that emotionality down. When I get him laughing, that emotionality will go down. When that rationality will go up. So yeah, he definitely wanted me to be on the stage.
But let's talk about that statement right there. He says, "You're not black," and you said, "I went to college. That's why I don't sound black."
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those statements that, heard from the outside, people don't understand it, but there's a meaning that comes behind it.
Yeah.
And so I want you to have the opportunity, because that's in the book. And what I don't want is people to get the wrong perceptions reading the book. I want you to explain that, because that in itself is a crazy statement, but it's a true statement. You're an educated man.
Yeah. I mean, and that was, it was a little tongue in cheek, but I was serious. I mean, And before I knew what it was, it's really called code switching. And before I knew what it was, and you speak in a certain way, because black folks, we have a black meter, and we have to turn that meter down. You just turn it down a little bit. You can't go around all day with that meter up high, and because you won't have a job or nothing. But you got the black meter, you got to turn it down.
I thought Baines was going to be trouble on the show.
You got to turn the black meter down. Seriously, you got to turn it down.
So, do you adjust that black meter depending on where you're at?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Mm-hmm.
So you're talking to him. You say, "I sound like this because I'm educated. I went to college."
Mm-hmm.
He's talking to you. You're trying to talk to him, and once again, let's reiterate the point. Your whole job tonight is not to kill this guy. Is to talk him out. That is your job.
Yes. Yeah. That's true. That's my job. But also part of it is to get him in a position for us to kill him.
Right.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Kind of like James.
Still talking. You're not assaulting. Still talking.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So he tells you the time for talking is over.
Mm-hmm.
I want a revolution. Right there, you're hitting a dead end. That's a wall right there.
Mm-hmm.
How do you break through that wall, keep the conversation going?
Because I understand what he meant by that.
What do you mean?
What he was saying was, it's the talking and the protesting is over. Not necessarily talking to me. The talking and the protesting was over because he was tired of the walking, the holding hands, the
He's ready for action.
Yeah, he
action.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. The time for talking is over because he said Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and all those people, they talk.
He brings up
and they all died.
Yeah. He brings it up, and that's what he was meaning. He was saying that time for talking is over, time for action, and he wanted some bloodshed, basically.
And so
yeah.
And so you talk to him about all this. You talk to him, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Kwame. He brings up the Gullah Wars to you, and you even told him you're going to have to give me a minute. I don't know that.
Yeah.
So at that point, I don't think you lose credibility with him, but he allows you to look it up so that you guys can go on talking. So you're winning this battle.
Mm-hmm.
He is allowing you to continue the conversation because at first he really wasn't talking to you that much.
Yeah, he wasn't. I think in negotiations you have a hook, and the hook is like if let's say someone is inside of a house and they got a daughter or whatever, he loves a daughter, you use a daughter as the hook.
Something.
The fact that I was black was my hook.
Okay. And so he tells you turn the rifle, kill the guys behind you.
Mm-hmm.
I think you tell him I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because that's
against the law.
It's against the law.
Yeah, it's against the law. I can't.
I'm sure it raised a couple of hairs on people going, "Oh shit, he's just not killing us because it's against the law." Remember all those times we fucked with Larry? Oh shit. So
he's gonna fucking take this
maybe some rifles came off safe on that one. So he says that. Now I say that to say this. We're gonna go into a little more of what he's saying. This is the him finishing up telling you to turn around. So he tells you turn around. If you're my brother, turn around, kill all these cops, everything behind you. And he goes into this.
Play the long game. Play the long game. Stay on your team. A year later, when you're out there for some shit, kill them all.
Oh, shit.
Kill them all like a zero. Kill them all like a weight.
That is fucked up.
Yeah.
So, where are we at now? What is going through your brain? Because those are powerful, powerful words being said to you.
Yeah, that resonated as far as what his mindset was. He's trying to call me to arms, even though we're trying to kill him. You know what I mean? That was that was something.
He's trying to convert
Yeah.
a good, highly qualified police officer, SWAT, negotiated training. He's actually trying to negotiate you into killing them all in a year or so.
Yeah. And how
it was a reversed role in a fucked up way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Wow.
here is the first psychology question that I have about it.
Okay.
In all the negotiations you've done and all the schools you've been to, what do you think went through his head that he thought, I can turn this dude and get him to come on my side? Or do you think that was just kind of dragging you along with it?
Yeah, I think it was a little bravado on his part.
Okay.
He probably didn't think I was going to do it, but you know, it was worth a try, and you know, and it gave me a little, you know, insight into his psyche and what he wanted. So you know, I think it was just you know, a little beating his chest on that part because of how sadistic it was. He said no, and kill him in a year from now. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say shoot him now. He said no, wait. He said while you're having a beer with him, about a year later, kill all of them. So
get close to him.
Yeah.
Use your brotherhood
Mhm.
to your advantage, which is really fucked up, actually.
Side point: no one ever drank beer with Larry ever again after that night. So you're talking to him. He tells you this. You keep talking to him. You've got the hook set in him. You're thinking in your brain. Are you thinking at any point in this? Are you thinking this guy's full of shit?
No,
not one time.
You knew it.
Not one. I mean,
and I mean even, and Larry, I mean even like telling you to do that. When he told you to turn around, man, this guy's full of shit. He's just seeing how many chains he can yank tonight.
No, he was very resolved about what he was doing. He just shot 12 guys. You know, I mean, he just shot 12 guys. So no,
shot 12, killed 5.
Yeah, you know, at the time I didn't know how many died, but yeah, I mean, he was going. This was the guy. This was the guy you go to the range for, and that target turn, and you're moving and shooting, and you're training, going down the hallway. That's that guy.
Did you have mad respect for him because you knew he was a very legitimate foe, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That was something that you're like, this guy's a legitimate foe. We have Baines, we have SWAT, you're SWAT. You're trying to get in a position to shoot, also and to negotiate. That's a fine line for you individually, but you have all your teammates working, which they're actually really close. They're 25, 30 feet. There's drywall. You don't know. There's just drywall. There's just concealed, you know, spaces. So I imagine that's a wild ride.
Yeah, it was different. it was different. It was different than anything I've ever experienced.
So do you go to your bag of tricks? Because in every job, experts in their field have bag of tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go to your bag of tricks and go, this guy's not like anybody I've ever talked to. I got to try something different, or I got to try something that I know has worked in the past. How do we do it? Do we start getting experimental, or do we go with what we know?
And that's a good question. What I did with him is what you don't do very often. I was brutally honest with him.
Okay.
Because he could see through all that foolishness, and he saw through a lot of the foolishness, a lot of the tricks that that I was trying to give him, and I knew the biggest thing with this guy is the active listening skills.
Really?
Yeah, if I used the active listening skills and I listened, because he thought, I mean, not necessarily him, but anybody thought, because he had just gotten a shootout with Baines 2 minutes before I got there, and Baines and 3 other guys, right? So what is he thinking I'm going to do? He's thinking I want to kill him. I want to shoot it out with him. but I listened. You know what I'm saying? That's what you do. You listen. You validate. You validate what he's saying. And you're like, okay, yeah, I got it. Okay. And just for people who don't know, just the active listening skills is just an acronym, is more pies. That's the acronym for active listening skills. And it's M for minimal encouragers. And minimal encouragers is basically saying, okay.
I hear you.
Yeah, exactly. That's a minimal encourager. O is an open-ended question. You ask a question. R is reflecting. You reflect somebody. And the best way to reflect something to somebody, just say the last 3 words they said to you. And put a question mark on it. Like if you say, you know, you're talking to a suspect and he says, somebody stole my car. Somebody stole your car? And that's just reflecting. He thinks you're listening, and he's going to start talking after that.
Okay.
And so it's just all the active listening skills. That was really what I did to him most of the time. And I used some of the social theory stuff. And then the social theory, the last one is liking, and how you make people like you. You tell something personal about yourself.
Okay.
I mean, you don't tell them, you know, my wife is leaving me, or I'm getting my house foreclosed on. But you would say, if you talk to somebody, you know, just like, let's just imagine you're on a flight and you sit next to a guy and he's got a Baylor shirt on.
Yeah.
And you ask him, you said, hey, did you go to Baylor? Yeah, I went to Baylor. What year? Oh, I came out in 95. Really? I came out in 94. Okay. Did you know, you know, and you
Exactly.
yeah, you start having that conversation with somebody.
Yeah. You share likeness.
Yeah.
You get them to believe you're on the same side.
Mm-hmm.
Here you go.
Yeah, and that's basically what I did to him. So, you know, and just try to.
How did that work for you? Was it obviously the end result is what it is, but did it de-escalate what you thought could have been a worse situation than continued shooting?
No, yeah, without a doubt, he never shot anymore after that.
Really?
No. Well,
Okay.
he did after the device went off, but he was just flinching. But he never.
Yeah.
Yeah, he never shot anymore after that.
So how do you feel about the device and how it all went down?
Well, let's save that for just a minute, because I want to go through a little more before we get to the resolution of this. At any point, do you think, I got this? I can get this guy to walk out of here?
No, not
at one point you didn't think this. I can get this guy.
No, not at 5 seconds.
Civilly.
None. No.
And so I guess the question that begs behind that is, why continue going forward? Are you thinking that you could possibly win this? What makes you go forward? The reason that I keep asking these simple questions, you know, why do you go forward? Because I don't think the general public, when you talk about education, the general public understands that. You'll get one of two answers from the general public or the Monday morning quarterbacks. You'll get, why waste the time talking to him? If you know you're never going to win, why waste the time talking to him? And the other people that you'll get is, when you waste the time talking to him, if you think it's good enough to talk for 5 minutes, it's good enough to talk for the next 50 hours. And you never get a true middle in there. So what are you doing?
Two things you're doing. You know, for the general public, you know, if you think about the Dallas Cowboy game against Atlanta Falcons, right? Cowboys, it was a minute left or whatever was left, and we were going to do an onside kick. You never
a 99% probability they win.
Yeah, you never get the onside kick, right?
Or they had a 1%,
and they got it. They got the onside kick, and you know, because you may get it every now and then. You may get that onside kick every now and then. And the biggest thing is stalling for time. That's the biggest thing, because we got to figure out what we're going to do with this guy.
And so I say that in saying this next thing. So as you're talking to him, and I ask you, is there at any point do you think, I can win this, I can end this, I can have him walk out? He says some things to this, why I want to talk about it, that makes almost his whole purpose more resolute. Like, he's not coming off it. And we've talked about that before, that he was resolute. But when you hear this stuff, it's kind of haunting. Would you agree about what he's talking about? Because he knows, or he thinks he knows, what's going to happen to him when all this is over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's listen to a little bit of that. I'll pause it at points, and then you can talk about what he's talking about.
If you don't mind me asking, are you Christian? Do you subscribe to any religion? Say it again, I didn't hear you. I got you. Yeah, I subscribe to Christian, man.
Let's stop right there for a minute, okay? He says, I don't prescribe to Christian. I'm awake. You tell him, well, I'm Christian. He says, sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Once again, we're to a situation where no win. There's no win out of this argument. He's not into it. So how do you go into this argument?
Well, back to the social theory, what I was talking about with liking, right? I want how you facilitate someone to like you. I exchange something personal about myself. And I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to say I was a Christian. That's why I came out kind of weird. I subscribed to Christian. That's why I came out. The sentence structure was crazy because he caught me off guard. But I knew that I had to tell him something personal about myself. And I don't know if you remember when the Post nightclub shooting in Orlando, 50 people got killed in that club. The club, the guy went in there. They got that guy on the phone. And the most experienced negotiator got that guy on the phone. And that's how I knew it was a terrorist act, because he said he pledges allegiance to Abu somebody, right? I was listening to him. He almost sounded like a special needs child when he was talking. He seriously, he sounded like a special needs person. And he asked the negotiator one question. He asked the negotiator, their most experienced guy, where'd you go to the academy? And that negotiator did what we all taught to do. He said, well, I don't want to talk about me. I want to keep this focused on you. That guy hung up the phone, went in that bathroom and started killing people. So
really?
Yeah, it's important to
give some of yourself.
Yeah, it's important to let that person in a little bit, let him in. And so that's kind of what I did when he was talking about, what about you? It caught me off.
All right, so let's go on with this negotiation part.
Yeah, I guess it's just a lens you look through, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was raised that way. I never really took to it. Too much faith. Not enough proof.
Have any kids? You have any kids?
Luckily, no.
No? You believe in the afterlife?
Oh, yeah.
But you're just not religious. Okay?
When I was about 8 years old, I saw, my babysitter, she got shot in the head by a boy who shot her husband. And her husband killed himself. Then, I don't remember how long later, no less than a year later, I was in a pool with my siblings, and I saw my babysitter who got shot in the head standing over there looking at it. Clear as day. You can't tell me I didn't see it. I see it just as you see that blood all over the wall. You see those dead bodies. I saw her dead essence, her spirit, her energy, whatever you want to call it. I believe in the afterlife. No, I don't believe. I know the afterlife is real.
That is powerfully misinterpreted, in my opinion.
And so he tells you, I know what's going to happen. You're going to kill me. I'm going to the afterlife. He even doubled down on it and told you he might have kids in the next life.
Yeah.
He doesn't have them now. To me, when I look at this situation, it is a no-win. Absolutely no win with him.
And for a Christian guy, in your opinion, a Christian guy that knows faith, and to hear this, you have to be, in my opinion, and what I would be was so it's such an abstract radical thoughts. It's hard to respond to what he's saying there without making him feel crazy.
Yeah. But it's about that validation. You got to validate it. You don't have to agree with it, but you can validate it.
Okay.
Because what everybody feels is valid. Even if he said he was the guy who put the Nikes on and the spaceship was they drink the poison and the spaceship was going to come get him, or David Koresh. One of the FBI schools I went to, not the one in Quantico, but one in Dallas. Bob Sage is the guy who negotiated with David Koresh for 51 days, and he taught part of the school, and he talked about that. He talked about how David Koresh knew the Bible backwards and forward, but it was twisted, and Bob Sage had to just deal with that. He couldn't argue with David Koresh about what he believed. So same way with him.
As we're listening to that in that audio clip, you can hear a lot of people talking behind you. You can hear a lot of voices in the background. I want to talk about a couple different things on that. One, you hear the voices in the background. Is it throwing you off your game at all? Because people are talking. Okay. And number two, there were some things that didn't necessarily throw you off your game, but things that happened to you while you're trying to concentrate with this guy. And I want to talk about those, of how you stay focused on what you're doing. One of the things that happened to you was someone was showing you on a phone the body count that was going up, the injury count that was going up while you're trying to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
A second thing that happened was someone kind of locked and loaded a rifle. And he heard it. He knew. He said, I think he said, "Oh, you brought the big ones out for this one," or something like that to you. How do we deal with all those situations? How do you quiet that into your own mind and keep moving forward?
Yeah, as far as the talking, I really didn't hear because I was so focused on him. But Ryan Scott was the one that was putting the phone in front of me, and I would read it while I was talking. It would say, 5 officers shot, 1 dead. Okay, he'd bring it back a short time later. 2 officers dead, 6 officers shot, or whatever. Bring it back, and I swear to you, I promise you, when he brought it back the last time, it said 5 officers dead, 12 shot, or whatever it said. I almost slapped the phone out of his hand. I raised my hand to slap it
because you were getting emotional.
Yeah, it was just instinctively. I did that to slap the phone, but I just,
because you knew emotion was not going to help you in this situation.
Yeah, because I wanted to show him some empathy, and I couldn't.
Right.
Because I knew he just killed somebody I knew.
And you switched it talks about it in the book, you switch your mind thought a little bit and you think, I want to kill this guy.
Yeah. I mean, it was tough. You have to show that empathy for people. And especially if you want to connect. And it's something called the behavioral change stairway. And the behavioral change stairway is, if you show you at the beginning of the stairs is active listening. At the beginning of the stairs, you use active listening. You develop a rapport. You go up to the next stair, you develop a rapport with somebody. Once you develop a rapport with them, you show them some empathy. You go up to the next, you show them some empathy. Once you show that person some empathy, you have some influence over that person. And the last thing is, once you have influence over them, you can create that behavioral change. And the behavioral change is put the gun down, don't jump, drop the knife, And the behavioral change that I wanted was don't shoot at us anymore. That's the behavioral change.
And you were getting those.
Yeah. Oh,
You
without
were
a doubt.
getting that.
Without
Yeah.
a doubt. Without a doubt. He never shot again.
So is that a win in your book?
Oh, that's a home run.
Yeah.
That is a home run bottom.
But you know what's a home run in that book too, though, is that's a microcosm of our society today. It's like empathy and compassion, differences. We can all take that for the textbook way it should be and apply it to our lives now, not just as a negotiator, but in our own personal life, because we get lost. We get so funnel vision on whether you're on a conservative, Democrat, radical left, into all of that, all of it, we get so blinded by things we shouldn't. I think that's a full circle situation to me. But how you applied it in this situation was epic. But that's how we can apply it to our everyday lives.
Yeah.
Just to tie it in.
Yeah.
So how long do you think you're talking to this guy? What's your estimated time?
Are you saying that what I know right now or what I thought?
Both.
Let's go with what you thought and then what you know now.
I thought I talked to him probably 45 minutes.
It was like 5 hours.
Yeah, it was about 4 hours.
Okay.
That's crazy.
That's just how distorted my view of reality was. That's just how distorted it was.
And the reason I bring it up, how long that you talked to him, was we should describe what you were behind. A ballistic blanket in a chair.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There wasn't a steel wall. There wasn't a brick wall. People need to understand that you guys don't do this for fun. You don't do it for kicks. You guys are out there with a ballistic blanket between you and him, talking him down, when everyone in the whole situation knows it's never going to end well.
Yeah. And it was so bad that I remember I talked to Melvin Williams. He had just got over to SWAT at the time. And I told him, and Jerry Wante was the guy who switched out his magazine and got a rise out of him. And Jerry Wante was about 8 feet from us across the hall in the doorway, in the doorway of the stairwell, holding cover. And I said to Melvin, I said, hey, if he charges us, if he comes out at us, he's going to probably get one of us. But I said, we have to give the priority of fire to somebody. I said, Wante, we're going to give it to Wante. So, and the priority of fire is if he runs between us, we would be shooting at each other. So what we're going to have to do, Melvin, we're going to have to either push left or push right, because Wante is going to be shooting at him, because we have to get a priority fire. And I said, if he get past Wante and get to this location, this is our no-go line, and we're talking. We had to actually discuss that if he got through us, if he charged us like he did that dart,
right?
If he charged us, we can't shoot at each other. We're going to have to let those guys on that side of the hallway shoot.
Take care of it.
Yeah, they're going to be shooting toward us, and we're probably going to get shot by one of them.
Yeah, friendly fire.
Yeah, so that's how it was when we were sitting there, and we just like, okay, if he comes through, those guys over there are going to be shooting at us.
That's a very difficult situation to be in.
Yeah.
Your boys that are taking care of you might be the guys that take down you.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's some psychological shit right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
While you're doing what you're doing. No doubt.
So as you move through the negotiation, we move through and we get towards the end that Jeff was talking about a little earlier. The decision comes down. We're going to move a robot in. This is unprecedented in pretty much anywhere in the world.
Yes.
To end a negotiation like this. Now, we talked about before where, you're so close, but you lose with the headquarters shooter. This one, this one's not going to end well. Does it feel the same? That's the first part of the question. Does it feel the same, or do you know this is what has to be done? This is just the end game of everything.
Yeah, I knew it has to be done, and I wanted it done now. I had to be done now because you're in such peril in that hallway because he's threatening to come out of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just being. It's almost like just your worst. Just think about something that you're very afraid of. You're very afraid of, and you're been and that's heightened state of fear for 4 hours.
Okay.
You just imagine if you're in a cage with a lion or a tiger or something, and that tiger is sitting there growling at you, and you think he's going to pounce on you at any moment. You're in that cage for 4 hours.
Right. So it's time to end it. So they make the decision to move the robot in there. The robot takes him out. It's over. First, well, I think we should point out first, the explosive goes off. You hear more rounds coming off. The first thing in your head is we didn't kill him.
Yeah, let me talk about set that up real quick about the robot.
Are you talking about when you moved to the stairwell?
Yeah, what happened was we had to get off the floor because we didn't know what it was going to do.
Right.
And how I set the robot up is when I was in Quantico, one of the FBI negotiators, I think it was his name was Vince Delfonso, and Vince was one of the guys that negotiated the Captain Phillips movie when Tom Hanks plays. He was one of the guys that negotiated with the Somalis or whatever. But anyway, he taught part of the school. But anyway, he talked about when the guys, the Bundy guys that took over the Federal Reserve in Oregon, really took over the Federal Reserve for a couple of weeks. And they were just, the Bundy guys was some of them were in Nevada. It was over the land, and that it was.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Vince was one of the guys that was negotiating with those guys in Oregon, and he told a story about how they were going to assault those guys, and he would say they would drive the APC up, armored personnel carrier up, and he'd get on the phone with the guy and say, "Hey, we're going to drop you off some food." They drive the APC up and pull it back, drive it up, drop off medicine or whatever, pull it back. And he knew they were going to assault him off of that APC. That's why he knew HRT was going to assault him. That's why he would have him pull it up, drive it back, pull it up, drive it back. So I did that with the robot. I told Micah, hey, the robot is on the fritz or whatever, and we move it back. We kept moving the robots, and I knew we were going to switch them. I didn't want him to shoot the robot, so that's why I told him we're going to I'm going to give you a phone so we can talk on the phone. And so I was moving the robots, so I knew we were going to switch the robots when I left. And I actually asked him an open-ended question, so he was talking. I just picked up the shield, went across the hallway, and that's when the robot came around. So, and the robot almost didn't go off because it just wouldn't go off because it was too far away from those guys, and they were counting down and wouldn't go off. It was just rough.
So, but I think it's interesting, and I want to talk about you moving to the stairwell, because as you're talking to him, you're telling him, hey, the robots are going to be in and out of the hall. You're desensitizing him to this, everything that's going on. When everything comes down to the end, I thought it was crazy in the book where you're essentially leaving the area to let the robot do what it's got to do. And he's calling out to you, hey, the same thing you're saying to him. Did I lose you? What's going on? I can't hear you. And he kept saying your name, Larry, hey, where are you at, man? And then what goes through your brain? It's got to be a 17 different emotions at once.
Yeah, I was just thinking he's going to get away. He's going to run out. We're going to lose.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're going to lose this guy because he kept asking me, "Hey, where'd you go, Larry? Where'd you go?"
So he thought he was scarce and on the run and going to be.
Yeah, I thought he was going to run out. I thought he was going to leave. And I was like, we can't lose this guy. This has to end now. This has to end now. And I was done, man. It was 4 hours. I had been talking constantly for 4 hours in a state of panic, basically. So I said, it's got to end now. So that was my biggest emotion.
Robot goes off, eliminates the threat. They move forward for a kill check and all that kind of stuff. Do you go on that kill check?
No. What happened was the guys opposite of us on the other side of the hallway, it blew their wall out. And so when Matt Smith and those guys went back up after the device went off, they could see him because their wall was gone now. Because it was only just a wall between them and him.
Right.
They could see him doing the agonal breathing. And basically the agonal breathing is, you're breathing, just, your body's dying, but it doesn't know it's dying. You just do the agonal
right.
breathing, and that's what it was. That's what he was doing.
So what was your response instantly? Were you relieved?
Oh my God. Yeah. I was like, thank God. I'm ready for this to end. I was ready for it to end. I was done. I was done.
Had you ever felt like that before on a negotiation, or was that the first time you felt like, man, I'm glad this is done? Yeah. I mean, of course you always, at the end of something, you're glad that it's over, but was this the first time in your career where you were like, oh man, I'm glad I'm not doing this anymore?
Yeah. I was so happy that it was over because, usually when we're doing the negotiations, we're sitting on the phone. I'm safe. I'm in a car. I'm on a command post or whatever case may be, and you're not in peril.
But you were in harm's way. Yeah. You were in shooting distance. You were there the whole time.
And at one time, before the ballistic blanket got there, while I was talking to him, I'm thinking about the reason why Swante switched his magazine out, because we were just going to shoot at the sound of his voice. I was going to ask him a question, and once he started talking, all 5 of us was just going to start. I mean, dump a mag into that wall where he is. So while I'm talking, I'm thinking, man, he's probably doing that to me. I'm the only one talking. Nobody's talking. So
good point.
He can hear where I am.
Yeah.
So I started walking up and down that hall just a little bit. I mean, up and down that wall, just so, if he starts shooting, hopefully he'll shoot behind me or in front of me or whatever.
So you're a moving target.
Yeah, it was rough.
Damn.
So the thing we asked Matt was, when it's all over, you go downstairs, you take all your gear off. Everything's over. Of course, people go back. They had to give their rifles and pistols. I don't think you were involved in that part.
Right. I just had to
where they give up their right. So the big part that we talked to Matt about was, and I think this is extremely important in this story, driving home.
Mm-hmm.
What goes through your head?
Honestly, I don't even remember it. I don't even remember driving home. I don't even remember coming home. My wife told me that when I got home that morning, she hugged me. I don't remember that. It was just.
Is your wife named Shane or Sean?
Shan, Shan. Her name is. She's got a black female name, LaChandra, but we just call her Shan for short.
Shan.
See, there you go again with you can't do that. All right, so you get home, you don't even remember. This is where the story takes a turn, and this is where I thought the most interesting part of your story, and I think, Jeff, you did too. This is the most interesting part of your story. So at this point, how many years have you been a cop?
21 years.
Okay, so 21 years. SWAT, how many years?
13.
How many years as a negotiator?
13.
Like well, I mean, where you are not the head of the negotiators, but where you're taking the majority of how many years do you think?
I would, probably last 5-6 years, being the lead negotiator for my squad.
Okay.
So you have all these things. You have all these years on negotiator, undercover work, numerous entries, commendations, all this kind of stuff. This one changes you.
Yeah.
You talk about in the book that You never had security on your house. You had security, of course, where they build it and they put it in the house, but you never worried about it.
No, never.
You started worrying about it.
I had it redone, actually.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, I had the cameras installed, and I had it revamped after that.
Why?
Because
you got 21 years as a cop. You've seen everything, man.
No, I had never seen that.
Okay.
My security was taken. When you see that and you look in the eye of the hurricane, man, it changes you. I think from I was never in the military, so I never knew what PTSD was, and damn it, I know what it is now. Because
so, do you think you went through some of that?
Oh, without a doubt. If I'm driving home and somebody's behind me, I wouldn't go home.
Really?
Well, you actually didn't go home that day.
Yeah, I drive past my house. Because I don't know who's behind me.
Just see what was up.
Yeah, bad dreams and seeing Micah come into my room in my dream and having my gun. I put my gun underneath my bed. It's still there. It's there right now.
But let's. I want to go pretty deep into this one, so this one's going to be a little bothersome to you, Larry. Yeah. But I really want.
Oh, where'd he go? You there?
I think he's going to come back.
I'm with you, Larry. This.
Okay, so it says we're live again. Just like last week, when these interviews go long, sometimes this happens. So this will be part 2 of part 2.
But this is a good part. So
I hate to break it up at that part that we're at, but Larry, let's get into it. So you say you've never had PTSD. You've never had your alarm system on. You've never worried about it. You've never not driven home exactly at that time. All those things, you've done them now.
Mm-hmm.
What makes the difference? Because here's the thing. You know that threat is gone. Do you think that threat's coming back? Do you think that threat may take another form? What made it different? Because you've stared in the eye of the hurricane hundreds of times.
But not to that extent. Like I said, usually I'm on a phone. You know what I'm saying? I'm safe. And almost like your innocence was taken in a sense, because for a guy to do that based on the fact that something that happens in another state, it wasn't anything that Dallas PD done,
right?
It wasn't anything that we did. So these guys, let's just say it was 10 guys.
Okay.
A coordinated effort that say, hey, we're gonna go and do this, 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 and this. So it was just it was the innocence of it was gone. Like, man, I can't believe that somebody would actually do this.
So you say you have these dreams of X coming in your room. So you place the gun in your bed and all that kind of stuff underneath your mattress.
Yeah.
How do we make that go away? Or has it even gone away?
Yeah, when it went away, it went away pretty quickly. After maybe when I say quickly, I mean, a couple months. And
that's a long time.
Yeah,
that's not really quickly to be.
No, that's fucked up. Like, you're with your wife, you're with you.
Yeah,
that's some tough shit, no doubt.
Yeah, it was a while. I mean, it went away.
So
well, good for you. I'm glad it did.
How does it? And we asked Matt this same thing. How does it affect your family? First off,
I remember the day after this happened, and I'm on a treadmill. I'm running on the treadmill because I need to work out. I'm like, man, I need to work out.
To burn it off.
Yeah, so I'm on a treadmill and I got my Beats, Beats by Dre on, so I'm jamming.
It's a
Probably,
little humble brag that he has beats,
yeah,
but whatever.
probably Mary J. Blige or something.
Yeah,
jamming.
probably. You're
And
a black female now.
yeah, and my wife is playing like the tickle monster was my son or whatever. She's tickling him and he's screaming like, and to me, it is kind of strange, but to me, he's screaming for help.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
There's association with that.
Yeah, and I'm running, and he's screaming, and I can see
Yeah.
them. I can see them running and playing the tickle monster and all that, but it scared the hell out of me.
I bet.
I mean, it was weird because I see them playing, I see them, but just the screaming, it scared me because though when I went downtown, the people were screaming, and it was just a correlation between it. It's just, and I jumped off the treadmill. I jumped off while I was going, and I yelled at my wife. I said, "Stop chasing him!" And they both looked at me like, "What the heck is wrong with this guy?" And I explained it to her later, but they didn't understand.
That's a very relatable common thing, and honestly, I'm surprised you weren't stricken by some other stuff because that's one of the worst shootings, if not the worst shootings on U.S. soil, much less in Dallas, but in America. And you were a huge part of that. And actually, you were a hero and got the bad guys down, but you still have worries and PTSD because how fucked up it was, if you don't mind me saying that. And I've got mad respect for that, man. Like that's some real drama shit. And good looking out on you and your family. And to be able to tell your family how you feel and let them deal with it, that's a big part of the equation. It really is. And them understanding what you went through.
So, Larry, you and I had talked about this, and it mentions it in the book, but I think it's very important to bring up now. When you used to come home from work, you would have like one drink, maybe like a beer or something to relax or kick back or whatever. After this incident, you saw that your alcohol intake went up.
Yes.
And not just went up drastically. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah.
And so this is once again where I want to drive the point home. And we talked about it with Matt. A lot of the people look at police officers as robots, that they go out and they do this job and they go home and watch TV and it's all over. It's not. You carry this stuff with you for the rest of your life. You have mentioned specific incidences where you don't drive home. You change the security in your house. You have bad dreams. Not only did you have bad dreams, which to me almost brings it full circle, when you were younger and you had the dreams of chasing someone and they shot you. And when this ended, you had the dream of X coming in your room and killing you there. People think that doesn't carry, but you carry that for the rest of your life. Do you agree you'll probably carry that for the rest of your life?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
Is there a day that goes by that you don't think about it?
No, not really. If I see a guy that looks like him, I think about it.
Really?
Yeah, I think about it. And it's kind of weird that if I see a guy that looks like him, I watch that guy. I mean, as if
a hawk.
Yeah, as if that guy's going to hurt me. It's kind of weird.
Right.
Yeah.
And
that
so,
guy's like, I'm just ordering a burrito, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just ordering a burrito. Like, what the fuck?
I don't know how you came up with a burrito on the fly, but that's
it's
nice.
like Chipotle. I'm at Chipotle on a burrito, but this guy's fucking me up.
So the reason I bring that up is because it went for a while, but you had to have the support of your family that kind of helped reel you back in. But explain to us the difference, why you started drinking more. Of course, we know about the dreams and all that kind of stuff, but there had to be something physically in you where you felt like you needed to relax. So can you talk to that at all?
Yeah, I really didn't drink that much. I never, drink over, 2-3 beers. I never did it. And I still don't, but I just, the drinking was more often, so
Okay.
I may have a beer to go, and I needed like a beer to go to sleep, almost like an ambient,
Okay.
because
Right.
alcohol makes me sleepy. So if I drink a beer and if I sit down, I'm going to go to sleep. So it would be tough to go to sleep. So I would have to have a beer to go to. I say have to. It was more habitual. It had a habit. I was like, I drink a beer
Well,
like.
but I think that there's some mental stuff that goes into
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
We had Will Chesney on, who was a dog handler in SEAL Team 6,
Mhm.
and he talks about, not only him, but Rob O'Neill in his book talks about Ambien is
Mhm.
like they have to have it to go to sleep because
Yeah.
they're at such a heightened level
Mhm.
all the time. And I think that it finally, that's what I guess you would say, the straw that broke the camel's back was this incident.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll tell you this from my experience. I mean, not to take I have to have AMA to go to sleep sometimes. It's like a thing, like, especially during this pandemic, it's
Mhm.
been like a weird thing. So, I don't want to turn to alcohol. I don't want to
Mhm.
turn anything bad, but at the same time, I feel guilty for taking like an Ambien.
Mhm.
So I can definitely relate to where you're coming from. No
Yeah.
doubt.
And so, what did you find? One, what did you find help bring you out of this? And two, what can other, whether they be police officers, whether they people that are just PTSD from the pandemic,
Mhm.
what did you find helped really kind of help you out in this situation?
I think more of honestly that helped me out was, I'm a religious guy.
Okay.
Power of prayer. Prayer, meditation, and knowing that there is a brighter tomorrow. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And
Yeah.
that's what, and like I said, I've had a lot of suicide prevention training, and so I would tell people suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Absolutely.
Because the sun is going to come up tomorrow. So that once you have hope, and like, okay, it's going to get better. That's really what brought me out of it. As far as, and I'm a bullheaded, like, and I thought about it, man. I'm drinking every day. I'm
Mhm.
drinking every day, and I would tell myself, no, I'm not drinking today, or I'm not drinking for 6 months, and I'll quit for 6. You know what I mean? It's just I just have that. I'm driven like that. I would say no, I'm not doing this today, and that's really how what brought me out of it. And it's more of a machismo thing, as far as I really needed therapy, man. Honestly, I've never taken it. I've never taken therapy,
So
but I
you
need it.
still have never taken therapy?
No, no, never
Any
have.
reason why?
It's just the machismo thing, I'm a man, that type of thing. Even though I know I need it,
Right.
you know, I just don't. I just haven't.
Do you think you ever will?
Yeah, I would love to do it, but it's just,
Is it, and Larry, I know you pretty well. Is it the machismo thing? Or is it that there's a stigma attached to it?
um, that's possible. That's a little, but I'm thinking I'm a man. I can handle it. I can handle my own
Well,
business. You
but
know what I
that's what
mean?
I mean by the
Yeah,
stigma
yeah,
is,
yeah,
hey, you can't handle this on your own. You got to
yeah.
go to someone else to take care of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Even
Yeah.
I actually want to go to, therapy, marriage counseling with my wife. I want to go. I really do. I just think it's good. It's healthy. You know,
Right.
it's almost like, you go to the doctor for your physical health, go to somebody for your mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
So it's funny that you bring that up because that's one of the last questions that I wanted to kind of end this one on a upswing with you.
Hmm.
For all the guys out there that watch a show, or for the wives that watch this show, or listen to the podcast, how can negotiation help their marriage?
I know exactly how, because it helps
Okay.
mine. It helps mine. Just and I have this video in one of my classes that I teach is it's just this woman. It's I don't know if you ever seen it. If I'm gonna send it to you if you haven't seen it, it says it's not about the nail. You seen that video?
Oh, where she has a nail in her head.
Have a nail in her forehead. It's not about the nail.
Right.
And that's what it's about. That, being there, listening, not trying to save the day, not trying to, say I'm gonna fix this. She said, I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen. And that's just basically what it is. Just listen, have the active listening skills. Let her know you're listening. Let her know you're there. Let her know you care. And that's basically what it is. Because when I don't use it, my wife tells me, "You're not listening to me. But I have to use it like, the active listening skills."
So it works well for you.
Oh yeah, it works. It works. works well.
Well, Larry, I want to kind of end this one. It's amazing to hear your story. It's not only with this guy, but with the other people that you've negotiated with, and the book has 2 more people that you've negotiated with. Actually, it's got 3 more people that you've negotiated with. We talked about them a little tonight. There's an additional one about a female that we didn't talk about that you negotiated with. It was a jumper, but it's a fantastic book. I think that it talks about you very well. I thought if I wouldn't have known you, you would have been like 7 foot tall, and just the way she describes it. And I think it's great. What you did that night is absolutely, undeniably the mark of a hero.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
To sit there and take everything that was coming, the ability for him to move on you so quickly, to fire on you, and to keep calm and to try and talk this person down when you knew that there was no solution to this. There was no way that this ended well. And it's an absolute great story to tell. And I told you when I saw you after it that you went up so many levels in my book after I saw it. It's unbelievable. And people should tell you that on a daily basis. People should tell police officers on a daily basis that don't know what they go through. They might see little snippets on the TV. They might see little snippets in the news, but they don't see the personal effect that it has on these people.
Right.
And we can't thank you enough for what you did that night.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Is there anything that you want to promote? You want to talk about anything like that before we get out of here?
Not at all, but I appreciate it. Thank you, Kelly. Means a lot.
So, guys, once again, this is part 2. We wanted to bring in the negotiator. I thought it went great, especially being able to talk about what he was thinking during the negotiations. The book is Standoff. It's by Jamie Thompson. It's absolutely amazing. I'll put links to it in the show notes. So where you see the description of the show, you'll be able to link on it in Amazon and go buy it. If you guys are having any kind of trouble with depression, PTSD, there are places that you can go. I'll put some links to those in there. And when you see a police officer, tell them thanks for what they do. They don't hear it enough. They don't maybe feel as appreciated as they need to be. So we really want you guys to go out there and thank them. They are the last line of defense for when, as you said, the hurricane, Matt said, when the dragon comes. So, guys, that's going to be it for us. We lost Jeff. I don't know what happened. He probably had a computer update or whatever. So that's Jeff. That guy over there is Larry Gordon. He is a true hero, like we said, a Dallas police officer who's put his life on the line for numerous years. I'm DJ. This is the Dads That Drink, and we'll catch you on the next one. Friday, don't miss. We've got Class Action Park. It's the theme park that killed like 6 people. They kept it open. Make sure you're there. 9:30, Facebook Live. So we'll catch you on that one. See you guys later. Bye.
Okay. Take it easy, Kelly.